Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway as we now enter into the second half of the regular season for Season 57 of the RTG Tally Challenge Series. Here tonight, it's race number 6. We've had 5 different winners in the first 5 races, almost following the trend that we had last season. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Michael Norman. Michael, this is the point of the season now where drivers that have secured themselves spots in the postseason, they're just trying to pad those points, pad those playoff points. Drivers that are right in the cusp, they're trying to get that automatic lock-in, and drivers that didn't exactly get their first half of the regular season off to a good start, this has to be the start of the comeback trail.
Yes, it does. They're getting down to it, and right now, most of those drivers who don't have a win definitely need one, so look for them to be a little more aggressive this race and from now on.
Certainly can see a lot of points positions change hands here tonight as we've got 37 drivers scheduled to roll off the grid here this evening. Ron Hagelin's going to be the first repeat pole sitter on the year. Of course, we document the fact that it's based off of random qualifying results each and every week, but Hagelin 2 weeks ago got his first pole of the season, and he's starting on the front row here again. As a matter of fact, interesting that we've got our 2 previous pole sitters from the last 2 weeks, because Wiley Coate sat on the pole position last week, and he's on the outside of the front row.
Yep, and it's set to be a great race here tonight.
So we are going to be having the command to fire the engines in just a few moments, and these drivers will roll off behind the pace truck. Of course, tonight as well, the second round of the Tally Challenge Bracket Series. We'll bring you up to date on who moved on from last week's first round and who's going to be battling tonight in the 1-versus-1 matchups. And of course, as we talked with drivers last week as well, a lot of them really focus on that bracket series, maybe even more so than they focus on playoff positions here down this home stretch. So it'll be interesting to see, how the bracket series comes into play, into the battling that takes place in this evening's festivities. So let's go through the field as they now roll out behind that pace truck. Rolling off the 3rd position inside of row 2 is going to be Glenn Harris. He'll be alongside of TJ Mayhew in the 338 here this evening. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see his scheme, but he's making his first start on the season. Bernie Mobbs and David Cannon, they're going to be back in row 3. Kelly Causey and Tim Nofsker are going to make up row 4. Row 5 is where we're going to find Josh Metallic and Milt Surratt. Row 6, Jessica Shelton and Donnie Garrett. In row 7, Hank Middleton, Wayne Pribnow. Row 8 is Brian Schilling and David Lawson, who's making his first start in the season. Row 9, going to find Rodney Selwins and Chuck McClure. Top 20 going to be completed by the defending champ Grant Wesley and Jason Scheck. Looks like Dave Melson's going to make up row 11 with Mark Paglia. Row 12 finds Chris Emery making his first start in the season. He'll be alongside of Billy Elliser. Greg Palmer, he's back in row 13 with Richard Martin. Row 14, Bob Dixon and Jeff Crivello. Row 15 is going to be John Godfrey and Terry Bombard. Then you've got Bob Seminara and Joe DeSpirito, teammates lined up together. In row 17, DeSpirito back after we didn't see him in the field last week after all that was going on with Hurricane Ian. Cy Jones, Doug Hewlick, they're back in row 18. And then completing the rest of the field is going to be Dante Rickey, Nathan Balser, and Jeremy Jeffrey starting pretty deep in the field there. Former winner from a couple of weeks ago, driver of the 8. Nathan Balser, Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, Jeremy Jeffries, and Chuck McClure, the 5 different drivers that have gone to victory lane so far this season. We'll see if a 6th driver adds their name to that list here tonight as Pace Truck heads for pit road. They got this rather lengthy tri-oval to make before they get to that start-finish line down between the tri-oval and the start of turn number 1.
And yes, I do remember, it's John Godfrey.
It is John Godfrey. I was very disappointed. I looked tonight to see if there was an Iago on that 7-Eleven. There's not. Anyway, it is the 111, the Coca-Cola Chevy Silverado of Ron Hagelin that brings us down, and we are racing here tonight at Talladega. Saw that little bump there early from JT Mayhew. The Wiley Coate didn't really seem to help as Hagelin clears across the nose of that bright green Castrol GTX Dodge. He'll have the top spot down the back straightaway now. Maybe a little too high there down the backstretch. I thought Coate might try and take him 3 wide. Harris now going to lead the inside line with Bernie Mobbs and Kelly Causey. Big push coming there from the 31.
Outside lane usually is the lane we're being, but right now the inside lane seems to be a little more formed up, and it's going to be Glenn Harris taking the lead in that 0-8.
He will clear off of turn number 4. We'll see if that outside line can generate enough speed through the tri-oval. Now Harris going to get stuck in the middle, as I think he was going to move to the outside. Mobbs jumps to the inside. Hagelin jumps to the top. It's actually Bernie Mobbs who's going to lead lap number 1 here tonight. Remember Bernie Mobbs last season, very late on in the year, I believe it was race 9 of the regular season. He was able to find victory lane to make his way to the playoffs. The guy right behind him won the following week, the season finale of the regular season, Kelly Causey, and they're 1-2 down the back straightaway.
3 wide still. They didn't even let him lead that lap.
We're looking maybe 4 wide there. It looked like for a moment. Wayne Pribnow and David Lawson, they remained single file, but it looked like Lawson might have been looking 4 wide down the back straightaway. As we're 3 by 3, about 6-7 rows deep. Caution's out. Oh, we got a flip. Was that Jeffries? I think I just saw there at the bottom of the screen. There's another truck that's flipping.
That would be the 8 of Jeremy Jeffries, yep.
My gosh, what a wild ride he took.
And the other one would be
Doug. Nose over tail.
The other one was Doug Hewlick.
23 of Doug Hewlick, and these are 2 drivers that started at the very back, Michael. 35th for Doug Hewlick and 37th for Jeremy Jeffries off the grid.
I think that would be on Jeremy Jeffries. Jeffries had a run coming out of the corner, tried to make it 3 wide. The 7 truck kind of, it might be a little bit of net code in that, but it pretty early on sent them both flipping.
Jeremy Jeffries, let's not forget too, came into this race after losing the points lead last week to Chuck McClure with that race win. Second in points, 8 points out, was trying to get back to the top of the standings, and it looks like he's already taken that Valvoline Chevrolet to the garage. Let's go back and see what happened going into the tri-oval. I believe, just based off of what I saw on the bottom of the screen, didn't get to see much, but it looked like that was kind of one of those front over back flips that was taking place there with Jeffries.
Oh yeah, it was. They launched him high into the air.
Here's a look at it. It starts off of turn number 4. Watch as he makes the move here to the outside of Cy Jones. Not clear. Nate Balser, our winner from the season opener, involved. My gosh, look at the air that 23 and the 8 gets, and then again, a lot of air caught there on the 2nd or 3rd barrel roll. And that is night done. Didn't even get back to complete the 2nd lap of the race, did Jeremy Jeffries. Doug Hewlick's going to obviously have a lot of damage he's going to have to deal with for the remainder of this as well. And jury out on that 079 of Nate Balser of just how much damage he got when he got walled there off of turn 4. And we've documented the last couple of weeks, and not much has changed, that 079's in a bit of a predicament. He's got the win, but he keeps hovering right around that 20th position in points, and you've got to stay in the top 20 for that win to count towards a playoff spot.
Very, very crazy first couple of laps here.
Sure. Didn't take us long to have a couple of trucks airborne, as Jeremy Jeffries indeed done for the night. He's going to get credited for 37th, and one of the things I mentioned before we went green here, Michael, big fields here the last couple of weeks, which means if you make a mistake like that in the early going, that's a lot of positions and translates to a lot of points that you're going to lose and have to try and regain the following weeks. Got some drivers that have hit pit road. 2 drivers towards the rear of the field. Looks like actually about half of our field came down pit road. Kelly Causey, Milt Surratt, Wesley Coate, Harris Paglia, Schulten, Palmer Metallic amongst a few. Also Richard Martin, Sullen, Schilling, Crivello. Like most of them came down, a few of them electing to take on tires, most of them coming down and topping off the fuel tank. Like 16 drivers did not come to pit lane under this caution, and Bernie Mobbs, who was the leader when that caution came out, will be the one to lead us back to green. Hewlick sits on pit road. They are continuing to try and repair that machine. We'll see if he's able to get off pit lane in time. He did. Got out before he got put a lap down. So 36 of our original 37 will continue. All will still be on the lead lap. And as already documented, Jeremy Jeffries is going to be the first one out of the race. Do not have the lights out atop the pace car yet, so let's fill you in on what the bracket challenge looks like for the matchups coming tonight. We already know that one is decided. Jeremy Jeffries was going to take on Ken Roberts tonight, so obviously Ken is going to advance into round 3 with the early departure of the 8. Milt Surratt is taking on race leader Bernie Mobbs. Bobby Farrell against Glenn Harris. Jeff Crivello and Donnie Garrett go head-to-head. Joe DeSpirito will face Bob Dixon. Brian Schilling and Jessica Shelton. Then Chuck McClure against Kelly Causey, and Grant Wesley against Tim Knopfsker. I think that might be the matchup of the night, because remember back last season, Michael, when the playoffs began, it kind of seemed like every other week it was Wesley in victory lane, Knopfsker in victory lane. So good matchup there between the 88 and the 088.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see that one.
No, the lights out atop or the lights on the pace truck, which surprises me a little bit, because before the caution came out, we had all of our 37 drivers on the lead lap, so I would have thought that the lights would have gone out at this point in time, so we'll have at least one more lap of caution. Take the opportunity here to give a look at the current overall point standings coming into this race. Of course, as we've documented the last couple of seasons, the way you make it into the playoffs is you either finish the regular season inside the top 10 the points, or you have a victory and finish inside of the top 20. So right now, in playoff points positions, should they finish there in the top 10, you got Chuck McClure, the points leader, came in 8 points over Jeremy Jeffries. Grant Wesley, 24 points back in 3rd. Rodney Sullins, 26 back in 4th. And Joe DeSpirito dropped to 5th with his non-start last week. He's 27 points out. Josh Metallic, Bob Seminara, Brian Schilling, Jessica Shelton, and Kelly Causey right now would sit in the final top 10 positions. The only driver, I believe, that is outside of the top 10 that has a victory this season would be Nate Balser. He did gain a couple of spots last week. He is 16th in the points coming into tonight's event. He is a total of roughly 10 points ahead of the 20th in the standings cut line. And again, as we saw him get caught up in that incident, we will see if he is going to be up to speed for the upcoming restart. Lights should be out atop the pace car this time. Looks like the driver is also anticipating that, as Donnie Garrett will jump to the outside of the front row on Bernie Mobbs. Wayne Pribnow will be 3rd, as now looks like maybe Mobbs going to take the top and Garrett will have to jump to the bottom. Pribnow will be 3rd, David Lawson in 4th. Chuck McClure will roll off 5th, Ron Hagelin in 6th, JT Mayhew in 7th. David Cannon, Tim Knopfsker, Hank Middleton going to complete the top 10. 3 drivers, as mentioned on the grid, making their debuts here tonight for the season, not their debuts in the series. They have run races in the past. David Lawson and Chris Emery, we end up seeing them make a few starts last year. JT Mayhew, I'm not certain when the last time it was that he raced in the Tally Challenge. He's also raced in a couple of the other series here this season for Rolling Thunder Gaming, but first time here in season 57 that we've seen all 3 of those drivers take part.
Should be an interesting restart here. See if they're going to calm down, or if they're going to keep racing like that.
Right, like the trends that we've seen like the last couple of weeks, where they go crazy 3 wide, several rows deep in the first couple of laps. Then we get that early caution, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that's right. There's still 66 lap race. Got to settle down a little bit. Get ready for that first green flag pit stop.
Absolutely, and we're going to see if they're going to do that too. I mean, even in and of itself, a green flag pit stop is stressful in this race, in this racing series.
We ended up seeing last week green flag pit stop almost be the deciding factor of the outcome of that race. Chuck McClure ended up cycling around when we had that late round of green flag pit stops to the race lead, and was able to keep them all in his rearview mirror to pick up his first win of the season, which snapped a win streak going all the way back to the season 56 season opener. And he is going to be rolling off on the inside of row 3 here, trying to be the first repeat winner on the season and trying to do it in back-to-back. Let's see about the call here for Bernie Mobbs, choosing David Lawson as his drafting partner here on the restart. Going to restart on the top side as the green flag is back in the air on lap number 7. Well, he lost his drafting help. David Lawson drifted back, drops down to the inside. Now McClure's going to jump up to the top with Bernie Mobbs, but Donnie Garrett is going to go to the point in that 77.
Might not be for long, because here comes Bernie Mobbs back on the outside with Chuck McClure right behind him.
Slick move there to the right rear quarter.
Oh,
for the 31
blocked him.
contact. And Mobbs up on the high side, going to drop back. Is Hagel going to let him in? He is.
Well, I think everyone's going to be very happy about that.
Boy, that was really close. That could have been a big one. We ended up seeing a huge pileup last week when a wreck took place up around the 4th, 5th position. Wrecks here at Talladega are scary enough, but they're even more scary when they take place up in the front, because you know that the rest of the field's going to come barreling in at some point.
Yeah, but that move was a little questionable. I mean, he came up as if he wasn't even there. Oh, no. I'll have to keep an eye on that for the future of this race.
And we know that these drivers, that a lot of times when we watch them out there, sometimes they'll look like they're planted to the racing surface, and there have been other occasions where they look like they've got their hands completely full, bobbing and weaving left and right, trying to keep their trucks pointed in the straight direction, as Wayne Pribnow doing a great job there in that Baskin-Robbins number 14 Ford on that inside line, trying to keep them alongside Bernie Mobbs for the 3rd position. But it's the 77 and the 17 that are clear for whatever lane they want here going into turn 1.
We see the 14 kind of nick the apron there, and that's what causes the inside lane to lose their momentum when they drift up a little bit right there, causing them to lose a couple miles an hour.
Get those left sides on that yellow line, it pushes you up, it loses you a couple miles per hour of speed, and then everybody else suffers from the checkup. And to your point, it doesn't move you to the front. If anything, it loses you a lot more ground. And with that being said, we may end up seeing more and more drivers, if that continues to be a trend, bail out of that inside line and try and find a place up in the middle. But it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of space to be able to move up there right now.
See, the 31 and the 17 are clear, so we'll see if they maybe try to make a move underneath Donnie Garrett here.
Interesting, when we talked last week with Chuck McClure, that wanted to get to victory lane really, really badly, and now that we've got ourselves secured into a playoff spot, now we're going to be starting to look around and see if there's anybody that we want to try and help push to victory lane to get them into the playoffs as well. Right now, he's hooked up pretty well with that 77, seems pretty committed to his back bumper. Donnie Garrett's just outside of the top 10 the point standings coming into this one. He's only 7 points behind 10th in the standings, Kelly Causey. So he's in good shape right now to maybe point his way into the playoffs. But I mean, if you're a driver in this series, do you really want to rely on the consistency to point your way in, or would you rather just go into these final 4 remaining races of the regular season knowing that you are guaranteed, regardless of what happens, provided you stay in the top 20 in the points, that you are going to be a part of that postseason?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. You got to keep your head on you, plant yourself in the right place. It's like for Bernie Mobbs, he's got to let that move go and maybe try to save it for later. It's all about where you finish here, so you've got to be in the right headspace, and you got to be to set yourself up for the right moment.
Something like having a win in the bank really helps for situations like Joe DeSpirito found himself in last week. Of course, with Hurricane Ian, it was questionable whether a lot of the Florida drivers were going to be able to make the race. DeSpirito was one of those that was unable to. It was cool to see him hanging out in the broadcast chat with us, but he's back here tonight, and he dropped only to 5th in the point standings. But even if he had dropped more, to know that he had that victory earlier on this season gave him that assurity that he didn't necessarily have to scramble to make sure that he made the start last week.
Single file line set, so I'm guessing that these cars decided, at least the front cars decided to kind of, tone it down a little bit.
Ron Hagelin, after starting on the pole position, has done a nice job of keeping himself up here inside the top 5. He's right now 4th. And we're looking at that Domino's Pizza Chevrolet of David Cannon. David Cannon, last couple of weeks has really looked good. We've talked about it though. The Achilles heel has really seemed to be pit road. He, of course, was caught up last week in that huge one, and that took him out of the running. David, right now, mired down 36 in the point standings, but he's looking to make his way at least up into the top 20 in the points, maybe get a victory to get a last-minute spot. And the driver right behind him as well, Hank Middleton. He's had some good performances, just not had the results to show for it. He's 26th in the point standings, so a couple of hopefuls here. I wonder in their cases, because I remember last year when Grant Wesley, in the early portion of the season, he was outside the top 20. We talked with him about what his checklist was. Was it win first? Was it get into the top 20 in the point standings first? You got to wonder for a couple of these big names that are down there currently outside of the top 20, like Middleton, Richard Martin, Mark Paglia, Billy Elliser.
Back in the back there, I believe that was the 08. Yeah, Glenn Harris took the apron and just about came back up into the field.
Close call. There's the 3 wide behind him there. Richard Martin right there in that 43, who I just mentioned a good half dozen big name drivers down there below the 20th and standings cut line. I mean, what are they looking for as we got a car blowing up back there? That is the 10 of Terry Bombard. I don't know if the caution is going to come out for that or not. It does. Yellow flag is out. Mechanical failure for the 10 on the back straightaway.
That's never a fun thing to have. It's happened to so many people so many times. It's just gut-wrenching.
I thought for a moment that we might have had a wreck there in the backstretch. Saw a number of drivers, Emery, Wesley, all diving down below the double yellow line, but they were all taking evasive maneuvers to avoid Terry Bombard. And he was right in the middle of the track too, so there's no way you can get that thing back down below the double yellow line to avoid the caution coming out. As Donnie Garrett and Chuck McClure racing around here to catch up to the pace truck on the back straightaway. Not much sense really to go back and go in depth to look at what happened, but we will go back and take a look at a replay and kind of give an attaboy to all of those drivers that were able to avoid, because it's so unpredictable. When an engine goes south, you see that black smoke and your first initial thought is, I got to get around this guy. Well, there's not a whole heck of a lot of space to be able to do that when you're 3 wide. And the fact we didn't have trucks spinning to try and avoid that, very good job by a number of these drivers.
I completely agree. That was firsthand, getting directly out of the way.
Greg Palmer was directly behind the 10, makes a little contact there, and then you see that was Nofsker, Brian Schilling there. Actually, correction, that's Jason Scheck, Crivello, Cy Jones among some of those that got around him. Great job to avoid Terry Bombard, and we'll look and see about what Bombard's situation in the point standings is, how badly this DNF is going to affect him, as pit road is open, and it looks like we got just about everybody coming to pit lane that didn't come to pit road the first caution. We may see a couple of the drivers that did come to pit lane under the first caution maybe stay out and get some track position. Looks like Doug Hulick actually brought his truck back to the garage area not too long after that, or before that caution came out, so he was involved in that Jeffries wreck. They both went airborne in the first caution. Hulick will get credit for 36th, and Terry Bombard now being pushed behind the wall due to an engine piston, we're being told. He's going to get credited for the 35th position. Terry came into this race in a 3-way tie for 12th, was only 16 points behind 10th in the standings. So a tough break there for the driver of the 10.
Never a fun time when your engine...
Pribnow, Jones, and Crivello, they have elected to stay out. Looks like Pribnow is yet to come to pit lane, so we might probably see him on pit road this next time by. Cy Jones and Jeff Crivello, though, they may be planning on staying out, and one of those two leading us back to green. Cy Jones came to pit lane one time under the first caution. Crivello came to pit road every lap under caution under the first yellow flag. So he would obviously be a little bit better on fuel than Cy Jones. And then Donnie Garrett won the battle off pit road. Chuck McClure and Bernie Mobbs right now wouldn't be in line for the top 5 should the 7 and the 56 elect to stay out. So we got a couple of laps here that we'll have under pacing. We'll follow the 14 and the 7 and the 56, see what they do here. But we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. We'll be back here for the restart at Talladega. And you aren't going to miss a thing here under Pacing, as we're going to take you FRN side by side. Welcome back to Talladega as we're getting ready to go back under the green flag on lap 19 of 66. Donnie Garrett, the race leader, going to choose the outside line for this restart. That'll put second place starting Chuck McClure on the inside. Bernie Mobbs, Grant Wesley, and Wiley Coke going to be the top 5. Ron Hagelin, Glenn Harris, David Cannon, Hank Middleton, and Jessica Shelton going to be the top 10 when we go back green. Of course, the month of October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we here at FRN pretty excited to be on the 48 of Jessica Shelton this October. Going to be seeing this pink and white number 48 for the entirety of the month. The Breast Cancer Awareness pink there on the FRN logo. And up here inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. Just hoping that I didn't jinx her with highlighting the car here in the early going of this race, but a couple of other drivers that have now made their way up closer to the top 10 as well, Richard Martin and Josh Metallic. So we're starting to see some drivers that were kind of riding towards the mid-pack in the early going, Michael, now starting to creep their way up towards the front as we reach halfway.
Jessica Shelton as well, just breaching the top 10 here. You know, with her, with the close call she had last week, you know, she's definitely vying for a win.
Got Dante Ricky back there, 15th on this restart. John Godfrey, that's right, I said John Godfrey, rolling off from 16th. Never going to live that one down, sir. Just letting you know that.
Yeah.
Pace truck to pit road.
Wow, it
Donnie
almost sounded like you said face truck.
It could be a face truck. Your face truck I don't know where I was going with that. Donnie Garrett has
Now,
led
now
10
I
laps
want you
so
to paint me
far.
a pace car with just my face on it.
Yeah, no, that is the thing that fuels nightmares, sir. Green flag set to go back in the air. 11th lap going to be led by Donnie Garrett.
Oh,
Almost wasn't. As
Garrett,
I don't.
did he
he
lose
miss
a
a
gear or
shift?
something?
Yes,
He might
something
have.
happened
He
there.
just suddenly slowed down.
He almost didn't lead that lap. McClure almost beat him to the line, which would have been no fault of McClure because he went when the 77 went. And that was a huge shot from Wesley to Donnie Garrett. You got to wonder if there's any front end damage on the Menards Toyota now. That certainly helped the inside line because now Chuck McClure and Bernie Mobbs have moved up to the middle groove. Wiley Coates gonna lead that inside line. I don't know, maybe the most visible truck on the racetrack. Wiley Coates, neon green number 6, one would think. I mean, how do you miss it? Wide a little further back.
Outside.
I think that was Dave Melson perhaps there in the 038.
third lane trying to form back there.
Yeah, metallic there with Kelly Causey. There's Melson. He was heading the third line before the 3900 jumped up there. Look, the 079 of Nate Balser, the damage that we saw him sustain from the first caution hasn't affected him. He's still up to speed. Fourth truck on that outside line. Big push. Oh, big shape up there with that third groove. You had the 38 into the back of the 00 and then to the back of the 39, and Metallic got all sorts of squirrely before they got to turn 3. Elton now trapped in the middle. John Godfrey starting to close up there in that middle line. It's got Brian Schilling and Rodney Sullins along with him. Ooh, real tight squeeze there. Hank Middleton moving up from the inside of the middle line, following in the tire tracks of Glenn Harris. 3 wide, 3, 4, 5 rows deep there in the middle of the pack.
You've got to keep an eye on this, the back of this pack here. Hank Middleton, Jessica Shelton, others. Brian, I think that's Brian Schilling in here too. They're all in the middle lane. That's very, very bad. It's a very, very bad spot to be in. Richard Martin back here too. Dante Ricky.
David Lawson, who's only made about, I think now 3 starts in the last 2 seasons, get really tight there off of turn 2. You got to be aware of that if you're on that inside line. The truck will want to push up. You see him push up again there off of turn 4 as he almost got into the left rear quarter panel of John Godfrey, who's right now in that middle
Don't you mean
line.
Gilbert? No, I'm just kidding.
That's not who I mean. Absolutely not who I mean. Maybe that's who you mean in your mind in an alternate dimension of last week.
You have
like they've settled it out a little bit there. Most of that group has gotten back to double wide. There's still 3 wide for a few rows. Sullins is still trapped in the middle. Dante Ricky right there with him. Bob Dixon also there in the 143 in that middle line, inside line. Boy, David Lawson's truck does not look that secure on the inside line. It's about the 3rd or 4th time we've seen him push up almost a full groove from the bottom. Got to be worrisome if you're Rodney Sullins, the truck to his outside in that middle line, because you can't give him a whole lot of room. If you're 3 wide, you got to make sure that you also don't crowd that truck up to your outside in that extreme outside line.
Yeah, you can tell somebody's driving to get up to that middle lane or to the outside lane there. Like Middleton having a little trouble keeping control of his race car on the straightaway. Saw him get a little sideways through the trioval there. That's going to stall out that momentum that middle lane has. Almost
a little paint exchange there between Dante Ricky and Joe DeSpirito out of turn 2. Ricky now dropping to the back. DeSpirito has picked up Bob Seminary. You've also got Tim Novsker back here in the 088. Saw him have a great avoidance along with Jason Scheck and others when Terry Bombard's engine expired on the back straightaway, and they've kind of not really made any forward ground. They kind of seem to be comfortable riding back here for the time being.
Probably would always be the better way.
Ooh, Dave Cannon, I don't know if he just jumped up there to the top side of his own accord or if he got put up there, but he's going to the back in a hurry. Maybe didn't like what he saw up towards the front. 4 wide because of that there with Lawson, Godfrey, and Palmer through 1 and 2. That was a little sketchy as they really had to crowd to make their way around that Domino's Chevrolet Camaro way up against the wall.
Oh boy, Jessica had to give the room there.
Yeah, Schilling can force his way in there on the inside line. Shelton trying to tuck in front of Balser on the top. top 4 or 5 or so have managed to keep themselves single file, but that outside line now being led by Wiley Coate has gotten them up to at least 6th position battle with Glenn Harris. Coates picked up Josh Metallic in the 39, Rossi in the 00, Middleton as well, and now the inside line, it was forming, and all of a sudden the 4 of Brian Schilling bailed out on Dave Melson. We're 3 wide, 2 rows deep again. Harris nearly contact with Melson. Just starting to get that feeling, Michael, that one wrong move is going to have the catastrophic results. A lot of trucks moving around here, kind of darting around here, and you can't have those quick motions when you're in a pack 3 wide.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. One quick motion, and bam, there goes the whole field.
Lawson, he's got really nothing to lose here tonight. His first start of the season, heading that inside line with Mark Paglia in tow. Hasn't taken long for Joe Spirito and Bob Seminara to make their way up here towards the top 10. We saw them riding at the back. Same for Novska there in the 088. Ooh, and like there might have been almost a little bit of not necessarily door banging, but pinching going on there between the 088 and the 48. Remember, those two had a little bit of a history from last week.
Yeah. We'll see. Everything should be fine now. Jessica's just trying to find a line that's going to work. Seems like every time she switches lanes, that lane that she switches to dies out.
Well, Ron Hagelin is not driving an NHRA dragster, but he almost had the parachute engaged right there as he was starting to drop back. They split him 3 wide. Lawson leading the inside line, Coate leading the outside line. He'll drop back now to the 24 and get a shot that almost got him out of shape going into 1. And meanwhile, you got your top 5 there of McClure, Mobbs, Garrett, Wesley, and Harris. They're just like, yeah, this is fine. You guys keep doing this. We'll just keep running our middle lane and let all the mayhem take place behind us.
They got the smart strategy staying single file like that.
Now Wiley Coate again trying to bring that outside line closer to the front. Trying to get her alongside of Glenn Harris. That would now be a battle for the 5th position. Cy Jones is now the leader of the inside line with Despirito and Seminara. And a little bit of concern back there. I'm keeping an eye on that 079 of Nate Balser. Truck looked like it was okay when it was up in the lead pack with drafting help. But now it looks like after he's been kicked to the tail end of the field, that damage he got earlier on, that first caution off of turn 4, he might be in danger of losing the draft. And again, talked about the fact you got to stay in the top 20 in the point standings for your win to count towards a playoff spot. And he's been down around that cut line for the last 3 weeks or so. We went back green, if I'm not mistaken, on lap 17. So we've only, at this point in time, completed 11 laps under greens, which means we are roughly about 10 laps out from when these drivers have to start thinking about green flag pit stops. And when that starts to come around, Michael, we'll definitely see these guys settle down. A lot of these guys that are right now in the middle line, they'll start slowly migrating their way down to the double yellow line to have that clear entry onto pit road. Drivers that might have come to pit lane under the second caution will maybe stay up in that outside line, feeling they can go an extra lap or 2 before they have to dive to pit lane. So we'll start to see a difference in look of this field when we start to get into that window.
Yeah, and it's gonna be the race on and off pit road, and to not make any mistakes that we have seen in the past.
Yeah, and we ended up seeing last week really the green flag pit stops near the end of the race, so no opportunity to really be able to mount a comeback.
Oh, there he is, right there. 7, Cy Jones. I saw him push up, and he just went straight up.
Can't panic when something like that happens. You cannot panic. You got to keep your head on its shoulders and gather that thing back up. Nice save by Rodney Sullins to keep it pointing the right direction, and good job by everybody around to realize what the situation was and not run those guys over when they were back in the gathering up situation. Hank Middleton, I don't think ever lifted though. He got around Cy Jones down to the inside of Greg Palmer, and he's trying to make his way up now into the top 10. Gonna pick up David Lawson in the 18. A lot of times in super speedway racing, it's all about trust and confidence. Who are you willing to push? Who are you willing to allow push you? How confident are you to take shots, whether it be on the straightaways or maybe even coming out of the corner? A lot of communication goes on as now battle, well, I was going to say for the lead, but McClure saw the run coming from Donnie Garrett, and Grant Wesley jumps down to block it. Now Bernie Mob's going to drop from second back to at least fourth and maybe further.
After he gets the head of that outside lane there, we'll see if he keeps dropping back or if it starts getting momentum.
And notice how that lead group has now dropped down to that yellow line. So that says to me these drivers are preparing themselves for green flag pit stops. Now, last week was a rarity where we ended up getting to see around the green flag pit stops. It kind of seemed like prior to that for the previous 2-3 weeks, as soon as we started getting in the vicinity when these drivers have to prepare coming to pit road, a caution would come out. So we'll see here on the eve of our potential first round of green flag pit stops this evening if we will end up having a yellow flag come out and take away that strategy.
Keep an eye out and see what's going to happen here.
Still 3 wide, 2-3 rows deep. Bernie Mob still stuck in that middle line. Glenn Harris there. Causey shifts from the top to the middle. Oscar's there. Dante Ricky, Jessica Shelton there as well, as all of a sudden that extreme outside line, which was being headed by Wiley Coate, they're losing numbers very quickly. There's only 3 of them up there now. Coate, Metallic, and Jason Scheck in the 1. Chuck McClure, if he's able to come around and lead this next lap, he and Donnie Garrett will have been tied for most laps led here tonight. 13 apiece. 6 laps led by Bernie Mobs, and then 1 lap led by Wayne Ribnow. You have a couple more drivers back in the garage area here in just the last couple of laps. David Cannon, who we saw get shuffled way up to the top side and dropped to the back, he a couple laps later came to pit road and actually made the left-hand turn to the garage area. A wheel problem, we're being told. And then just moments ago, our season opening winner, Nate Balser, came to pit lane, and he is now back in the garage area. He will get credited for 33rd. So not the situation you want to be in with only 4 races remaining in the regular season if you're trying to stay in the top 20 in the points for that win to count towards a playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the exact opposite of what you need right now.
Neither Cannon nor Balser had moved on to the next round of the Cali Challenge bracket. And I believe that our other retiree, Terry Bombard, he did not move on either. So outside of the battle that we documented earlier, Jeremy Jeffries versus Ken Roberts, with Jeffries DNF here tonight. Well, actually, now that I think of it, though, Ken Roberts, he's not in the field, is he? So Jeffries with the DNF might actually move on. Just realized that. So that also could have been a reason why Jeremy Jeffries called it an early night, knowing that he was going to move on to the next round of the playoffs. The other drivers that have DNF'd at this point in time, none of them had advanced past round 1. Next time here around, Michael, I think is about the time these drivers got to start thinking to come to pit road. Went back green on lap 17, and this would be the 19th lap of this run for these guys. I think Bob Dixon was on pit road already the lap prior.
A couple of these cars have been.
Yeah, we're seeing a couple hands out the window. I think you're down the back straightaway.
Oh yeah, we definitely are. There's definitely cars coming in.
That's Billy Elliser in the 26, who also was just on pit lane moments ago. Let's see of our leaders who's going to hit the pit lane here. They had to make their way around Bob Dixon's 143, and it's our top 4 at least. A bunch of others coming down pit road. Oh man, look out, 3-4 wide onto pit lane entry, and we got spinners. Causey, Cy Jones, Jason Scheck.
Big time
Dante
stack
Ricky,
up.
I think, was involved in that as well. Wiley Coate, Bernie Mobs. Causey's facing backwards on pit road. And again, this is all considered off the racing surface, so no caution comes out to save these drivers.
And as for the cars who have not come down pit road,
Tim Knopfsker stays out with a few others, like Jeff Crivello, Chris Emery. They're going to be staying out here and probably coming to pit road this next time by. Jessica Shelton as well. JT Mayhew also on pit road with this group. Much smaller group there, only about 5 trucks, so a little bit easier to get onto pit lane. Grant Wesley appears to have won the battle off of pit road. What happened to the 17? Where did Chuck come out? He came out 5th, and he was the leader when these pit stops began.
Yep, it's all about trying to get onto pit road.
Looks like Grant Wesley, Donnie Garrett will more than likely cycle around to 1st and 2nd when all is said and done. Got Josh Metallic and Dante Ricky. They're in a 2-truck tandem right now in what I think eventually would be 3rd and 4th, and then McClure trying to latch onto them would more than likely cycle into the 5th position. As there's Shelton now leaving pit lane, Emery, Crivello, and you'll see just up ahead there is Tim Knopfsker in the 088. So we'll see where those 5 trucks end up cycling around, as I believe right there was the lead exchange. Wesley taking it from Knopfsker. So furthest these drivers went there was the completion of lap 37. Calculations say that these drivers then can go to lap 56, maybe 55, 56. Means that one more pit stop looms for these drivers before the conclusion, and it'll leave us with about a 10, 11 lap shootout to finish that out. That is, if we don't have everyone get bunched back up with the flying of our 3rd caution of the night. As here we go, the 2-truck tandems. Metallic with the push from Ricky, Wesley with the push from Garrett. Right now, both seem pretty even, and this is putting a smile on everybody else's face behind, because they can have a chance of drafting up and making this a big pack again.
Yep. You see it single file now, and probably, I'm going to guess and say roughly between 5 to 10 laps, you'll see them all back together again if we don't get a caution before then.
Looking right now, and it appears that despite the issues we saw of drivers at the entrance of pit road, nobody got pegged for speeding, but it certainly did hurt a couple of drivers in terms of track position. Look at Chuck McClure. Is he trying to pass 4 cars all by himself?
Yes, he is, and he's got Tim Knopfsker looking like he's coming right behind him.
What a move, and he's got the push coming
wow,
here from
if
Knopfsker.
If that was for the checkered flag.
Would have been McClure. Not sure what the interval would have been. 6 1,000s, they're saying.
That had shades of 2011 Talladega all over again.
Jeff Crivello now up here with this lead group. Let's not forget that the 088, the 56, and the 52, those 3 drivers, they came to pit lane in that second group of 5. So that cycled around them pretty well up here inside of the top 10 now.
3 by 3 by 3.
And behind them, 10th place on back, they're all single file, so they're going to catch quickly. DeSpirito, Richard Martin, Bob Seminara, Billy Elliser, Bob Dixon, all involved in that. The drivers that paid the price for what we saw take place there with the contact in the early stages of those pit stops at the entrance of pit road are going to include Cy Jones in the 7. He's lost a lap as a result. Kelly Causey as well has lost a lap. They are in 31st and 32nd. It also appears that it was a very slow stop for Glenn Harris, as he is currently, I think, heading into the exit of turn 4 into the tri-oval, while the field is coming out turn 3.
It's very, very tight up here, but Seth, there's one more thing we got to talk about. I don't think these cars have enough to make it.
No, they don't. They're 10 laps short at least.
I want to
projected 10 to 12 laps short.
I think it's 10 to 12. I think it was a little bit. I thought it was a little bit more than that. I thought maybe it was like 5 short.
Yeah, these drivers, they came to pit road between laps 36 and 37. So projected, let's be generous and say 20 laps they can make it on this tank. That means they'd be on pit road at 56 to 57. That's for the drivers that are in the draft. Drivers that are out there and may not have the benefit of the draft running by themselves, they'll probably be only able to make it the minimum 19 laps, and so they'd be on pit road a little bit sooner than that. Donnie Garrett back to the race lead. Help from Joe DeSpirito, Richard Martin, and Bob Dixon, the 143. Bob Dixon, you know, there's a couple of guys here that I thought, based off the strategy we saw, that they might lose out and be in the lead pack. Dixon came to pit lane the lap prior to that big group of drivers. I already documented about Novsker, Emery coming to pit lane the lap after the big pack came to pit road, but they're all up here in this lead group inside of the top 10, so don't necessarily, I guess, have to come to pit road with a big group. And I almost wonder if maybe that stack up we saw there, the contact midway through the pack of that big group, if that might have actually helped the 143.
It might have, actually.
Less cars you come with, better chance you have of getting onto pit road cleanly.
Yeah. That's why it's always such a big deal coming on the pit road here. You know, a lot of times you say you don't want to come on the pit road with nobody. The more people that come down the pit road, the better you are for getting up to speed and being with the main pack. But with the way these cars pit, having such a big group maybe isn't the best thing.
It's a battle of lines right now. McClure in the 17, Garrett in the 77. Looks like right now it is the middle line prevailing, as Chuck McClure is going to get clear for the top spot. Look at that third line, though. Got Grant Wesley up there. Bob Seminara is up there. Josh Metallic. So line them up. 3 former champs right there, nose to tail on that top side.
But man, one wrong move and that can take out this entire pack.
Certainly could. You've got that 338 back there, right side of your screen of JT Mayhew. He right now would be the first of 2 drivers in the free pass position. He's the only driver a lap down that's in this lead pack. Glenn Harris, you see right there, getting passed. If he can latch onto this group, he would be in the second free pass position. But prior to that, Kelly Causey was the second car or truck 1 lap down, but Harris will be knocking him another spot lower at this point in time. 2 free passes given out with each caution that flies. And we really, you know, here tonight we had the 2 trucks flipping right here in the entrance to the tri-oval, Jeffries and Hewlick in the early stages of the race on lap 2. And then we had the Terry Bombard engine expiration. Outside of that, caution flag has not waved here since then. And these drivers have been able to make a round of green flag pit stops. Now it's a question of what are we racing to this time? Are we racing to our 3rd caution? Are we racing to our final trip to pit lane for green flag pit stops? The way these guys are racing right now, it could kind of be 50-50.
Absolutely. I mean, you're 3 wide, several rows deep. We're coming to 20 laps to go this time by at the line, and you know, with there not being green white checkers in this series, you know, with 20 to go, your field can go what, about 19 to 21 laps, give or take.
Yeah.
So I'd say that if I could find a group of cars willing, I would come down pit road with about 18 to go, be good enough to go on fuel, and then hope that you don't lose touch enough with the pack, where that you can go around and essentially unlap yourself and get a good run, that and or bank on a caution, to where you can get the lucky dog and then just kind of, you know, you'll be pretty much back within the pack here.
With the lap trucks included, I'd say we've got about 16, 17 trucks in this lead pack. How many trucks would you have to come to pit road with that strategy to make sure that if things go green to the end, that you're still going to be merged with that lead pack if they decide to stretch it as far as 10 laps to go? Do you have to have at least half the pack come with you? Can you get away, do you think, with maybe just 5 or 6 other trucks coming to pit lane?
Well, I know one thing for sure. Need more than one.
Okay, fair enough. Right now,
I BS'd my way through that question so hard.
You did. You definitely did. You took the easy way out. Looks like we've got 15 lead lap trucks up in this lead group right now. Jeff Crivello in the 56, the last of those.
Look at that
Then you got to
outside
go
lane.
a ways back before you find a second group consisting of 16th, 17th on back. Dave Melson's in that group, Rodney Sullins, John Godfrey, Brian Schilling.
Gilbert.
Also got Wayne Pribnow and Jessica Shelton. So that would be 17th on back to 22nd. Right now, they are running roughly 4 seconds behind that lead pack.
New leader, 88.
The lap times are looking good, though, for this this group, because your race leaders up at the front are running 48 7s and 48 8s. This pack of 5, they're running 48 1s and 2s, and I think they're about to latch on. Yeah, I think Dave Nelson might be able to get the draft of the 7 of Cy Jones. So great job of not giving up for that group of 5 or 6 to be back up here in the picture for this race win, or at least in the vicinity when we have that final round potentially of green flag pit stops.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the best place you want to be. Catch back up right there, pit with the main pack, and just try to stay a part of it, you know. You just try not to make any mistakes coming at pit road, make it clean and fast, and the longer you wait, the less fuel you got to take, because I don't think anyone's coming for tires.
Grant Wesley leading his first few laps of the race. He's led 3 so far, and just edging ahead of Donnie Garrett down the back straightaway. He's got Bob Seminara in tow in the 712. Seminara, of course, last season the regular season champion. Grant Wesley the overall champion, and Bob Seminara trying to solidify himself into the playoffs this season. Last year could not find victory lane. Very consistent. Was able to win the overall point standings during the regular season, get those bonus points when the playoffs were reformatted, but you got to think that he certainly wants to find his way back to victory lane, as now that middle line starting to lose some momentum. Top line and inside line starting to forge ahead. Garrett with Despirito, McClure with Novsker. And that group of 5 or 6 have caught the lead pack. Nelson, Sullins, Godfrey, Schilling, Ribnow, and Shelton. They are now up here in the lead pack, so we've got 22 drivers now in this lead group, and sprinkle in a few lap trucks.
Oh, here comes a couple cars down the pit road.
Bob Dixon to pit lane there in the 143. Couldn't tell who that was that jumped down with him. That's Billy Elliser and Ron Hagelin, our pole sitter, that also are hitting pit lane with him. A little bit earlier than when these drivers were projected coming to pit lane. The calculations said they could probably go another 2 or 3 laps should they choose. See if maybe Donnie Garrett and Joe Despirito, if they're going to come to pit lane this time or not. Remember that Donnie Garrett has spent a good portion of this run out in front, as has Chuck McClure, so you'd have to think they could be a couple of the first ones of this lead pack to dive onto pit road, but we're going to pass by the pit road entry at least this time and complete lap 52, put lap 53 on the board. And going back to a point that you made as well, the fact with no green-white checkers in this race has the possibility of ending under caution. It puts even more pressure, I think, on these drivers now for this pit stop, because this is pretty much the muddy stop for these guys.
Oh yeah, this is it right here. And I see McClure is kind of struggling to get to that inside lane.
Running right now behind the first truck 1 lap down, JT Mayhew in the 338. Novsker right there with him. We know that Novsker stayed out a lap extra under the first round of green flag pit stop. Saw somebody there diving onto pit lane. Was that the 26 going back to pit road, perhaps? Billy Elliser might have gotten hit with a speeding penalty. Let's follow up on that. Yeah, Elliser coming back down pit lane. Looks like he is pulling into his pit stall. Nope, looks like he's passing through. So it looks like it was a speeding penalty for the 26. Tough break there.
So yeah, very tough break, and that's something that you don't want to happen. Now McClure able to get down to the inside lane.
Make those mistakes now. There's not a whole lot of laps to be able to remedy them. As I think, yeah, I'm starting to see Radio signals lighten up. I think we're about to have feeding time at the zoo here off of turn 4.
Oh, Dante almost. Oh, there it is right there. The 4 and the
that's going to bring out a
17
caution.
spinning.
Caution is out. These drivers, oh, Wesley got clipped by Dante Ricky. Godfrey is spin at the entry of pit road. McClure's spin is what brings out the caution. And these drivers did not get to the commitment line, I'm pretty sure, so they can only pass through pit road, cannot take service, or else they will be dropped to the tail end of the field. Although I am seeing the 84 is actually taking on tires. Like, pretty certain that if you take on any type of service, you're going to get an EOL penalty on the upcoming restart.
I guess we will have to wait and see.
David Lawson is going to inherit the lead here. So undoubtedly, everybody that stayed out that lap, they'll be on pit road here under the first lap of pacing. Had a lot of stuff happen there. It was the Chuck McClure spin that ended up bringing the caution out. His truck spun back up onto the racing surface. Saw that Wesley got hit from behind by Dante Ricky. Saw Godfrey was spinning sideways there coming onto pit road. Don't know if he had contact. I'm not even certain who it was that tagged the 17. Last week's winner, Chuck McClure. We'll find out as we go back and take a look at a replay. Third caution of the night, right on the eve of 10 to go here, Michael. Starting to get really interesting for this upcoming restart.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it honestly was the 17 car. I think he almost got clipped coming in, and then when he tried to avoid it, Brian Schilling, I believe in the 4, just didn't get slowed up enough and ran right into the back of him.
Big question of was the 17 coming to pit lane? Because to your point, the first contact was Dante Ricky into the back of Chuck McClure. And if McClure was coming to pit lane, I think that Dante getting to the back of him kind of shot him forward, and maybe Chuck was thinking, okay, instead I'll come to pit road the next time by. Oh, well, actually that side, there was no contact between the 84 and the 17. Just looked like it was a really late call onto pit lane for Chuck McClure. He was pretty high up there on the racetrack, and Schilling appeared that he wasn't planning on coming to pit road and not getting the memo, ran the 17 over. There's gotta be communication all the way across the board if you're coming to pit lane, or else these kind of things are gonna happen.
Yep, absolutely, I agree.
Let's ride on board with the 4 of Brian Schilling. And let's see if there was any clear indication of the truck ahead. He's gonna be, I believe, 2 trucks ahead. The 17 of McClure, if he was going to slow for pit road. Slowing there. Yeah, first it kind of looked like he was slowing because I think it was Godfrey or Seminara ahead of him was slowing to come to pit lane, and maybe Schilling felt the 17 was jumping up there to avoid him and stay out another lap. Schilling never let off of the gas and got into the back of Chuck McClure. Now let's look further up here because we ended up having a couple more incidents coming to pit lane. Follow the 88 of Grant Wesley, who was 3rd coming to pit lane. There's Dante Ricky, left side. Comes flying in there and clips the left rear of Grant Wesley. Grant clips the back of Richard Martin as he's trying to get his car turned around. Hank Middleton also back there got spun. He get tagged by, I think he gets tagged by John Godfrey, so that would explain there. We were going to wonder about the 7-Eleven, how he was turned around, and I think he and the 2 make some contact here.
It'll be interesting to see who's going to cycle around as the leader here.
Rodney Sullivan's there in the 38. Bit of a heads-up move. He saw the caution came out and decided, you know what? I'm not going to take the penalty of just driving down pit lane. I'm not to the commitment line yet. And he was able to get that thing turned to the right quickly enough. Stay out on the racetrack. Watch this. Heads up moving by the driver of the 38 at about 120 some odd miles per hour, trying to slow down for pit road. There's the caution. Realizes pit road's closed. Not to the commitment line yet. Yanks the wheel back to the right, avoids the spinning Chuck McClure. And because of that, Rodney Sullins, I think, ended up crossing the line somewhere around the 12th, 13th position, where if he had come down pit road and not taken service, would have more than likely cycled around somewhere outside of the top 20.
Let's see, it looks like Tim Knopfsker, I believe, is going to cycle around as the race leader. Got a couple of, I'm assuming they're going to be the wave around trucks in front.
Hagelin, Billy Ellis are amongst those. Bob Dixon as well in the 143. There you also see our lucky dogs pulling up to the outside. JT Mayhew and Glenn Harris would have been in line for those at the time of the yellow. So like 5 drivers will get back onto the lap. Kelly Causey and Cy Jones will still remain a lap down at this point in time. Kelly Causey -1 and Cy Jones -2. We will have 30 of our 32 remaining drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. As you point out, Michael, Tim Knopfsker going to be the one to lead us back, which will more than likely be with 8 laps to go, it looks like, if the lights do indeed go out on the pace truck this time. David Lawson will line up in second, Jeff Crivello in third, Josh Metallic fourth, Dave Melson fifth, then Bernie Mobb sixth, Wiley Coates seventh, Mark Paglia, Brian Schilling, and Donnie Garrett going to be the top 10. Joe DeSpirito is slated for 11th, Rodney Sullins in 12th, Greg Palmer 13th, Grant Wesley 14th, and Chris Emery will be in 15th. We'll take you through the rest of the running order here of the drivers that were still on the lead lap prior to the Lucky Dogs and the wave rounds going by. Bill Surratt is 16th, Wayne Pribnow 17th, John Godfrey 18th, then it's Jason Scheck and Chuck McClure, completion of the top 20. Richard Martin in 21st, Jessica Shelton in 22nd, Bob Seminara 23rd, Hank Middleton is in 24th, and Dante Ricky will be in the 25th position. All of a sudden, Michael, our top lap leaders, they've kind of faded from view a bit. Donnie Garrett back in 10th, McClure with that spin all the way back in 20th. Knopfsker has now been able to lead 4 laps here under pacing, and David Lawson to his outside led that 1 lap when he led us back to caution. So a couple of new faces up here in clean air for this upcoming restart with less than 10 to go.
Getting ready to come to the restart here. Should be interesting to see with about, what, 8 laps to go? 7, 8 laps to go? Somewhere around there?
I believe it's going to be 8 to go. We do have lap trucks. That means that we would be around completion of lap 62 would be our point of no return should a caution fly between then and the white flag. Roughly about, 4 laps here before we enter into that point of no return vicinity. Had a relatively clean race here tonight. 3 cautions this evening. Had a 3-truck incident out of turn 4 in the first couple laps of the race. Had a mechanical failure for Terry Bombard. Had a cycle of green flag pit stops in between. Almost had 2 cycle of green flag pit stops. Our latest caution, a stack up that took place during the green flag pit stops and made its way back onto the racing surface. Gets us ready for our 3rd restart of the night. Tim Knopfsker looking for what would be his first win on the season. For David Lawson, he's looking for his first win in a long, long time here, making his first start on the year as they take us back into turn number 1.
Outside lane, more form. Knopfsker's in trouble.
Jeff Crivello trying to get to the 088, but there's about a truck length and a half back to him, then another truck length back to Dave Melson. It will be that middle line formed up. Whoa, little chain bumping there. Almost some bumper grab for the 31 of Bernie Mobbs as he'll get clear for 3rd behind Metallic in 2nd and Lawson to the point.
Outside lane, still the strongest lane. Metallic putting himself right in the proper place. 31 back up here as well.
I don't want to say that it's too late if David Lawson were to win here tonight for him to be able in the next 4 races to point his way into the top 20, but you have to wonder if indeed he's just out here trophy hunting, if that's in the best interest of any of these drivers that might be relying on pointing their way in. But you've got Metallic back there, who took the championship 2 seasons ago. You got Bernie Mobbs, who was in the playoffs last season as well, and a lot of shifting there with Donnie Garrett and Rodney Sullins. And how about Mark Paglia, that 28, right now in that 4th position? Been a long time since we've seen him up here in the hunt for one of these checkered flags. Got a second line forming, well, technically a third line if you want to count the middle line as the second lane. You've also got an inside line forming back there as well. Greg Palmer heading the top side with Kelly Causey. Now remember, Causey is off the lead lap, so really he's just kind of an X factor, a drafting partner for drivers up here at the front, hoping for a caution to come out to get back on the lead lap. McClure was helping that outside line, and he's going to drift down to the bottom.
It is too late now. If a caution comes out, I believe now it would end the race with the lap cars.
Tim Knopfsker's going to the back. That inside line's got nothing. Wiley Cope, Brian Schilling, Joe DeSpirito desperately trying to make something happen, but it's just not there. The momentum is not there for any of those drivers. Donnie Garrett showing the nose there to the right rear quarter panel. Mark Paglia, he's got Rodney Sullins in tow. They're going to pick up Greg Palmer. He'll stay to that top side and start to get alongside the 28 of Paglia for the 4th position. Close there, door to door between Wesley and Sullins for that 5th, 6th position. As they cross the line, we are now in the point of no return. We'll give the disclaimer we give every week. If a caution comes out between now and the checkered flag, we will stay with the race back to the line. We will go back post-race if necessary to look at the replays. David Lawson hugging that double yellow line. Here come the lanes on the top, though. Bernie Mobbs leading the middle. Donnie Garrett, high, wide, and handsome on the top.
That things are becoming really, really, really racy now suddenly here. And as you can tell, it's getting closer towards the end of the race. I don't know, the outside lane set doesn't look to be getting a lot of momentum, and if it did, it kind of died out just a little bit.
I just counted it. We are 3 wide, 7 rows back, from about 4th back to the 26th position as Lawson ticks another lap away. Look at Rodney Sullins, look at topside, 4 wide there around the 9th position.
These boys better be careful.
Top 6 have gotten themselves single file. Back to Knopfsker. Wiley Coates in a 3 wide with Mobbs and Donnie Garrett. Now, 3rd place, no, make that 4th place. Chuck McClure steps out with Middleton and Tim Knopfsker against Lawson, Metallic, and Wesley on the bottom. Lawson's going to move up to block that momentum. Does McClure maybe take it even higher here out of turn 4?
Yes, he does. He's going to take that momentum with him.
Oh, block there, but not going to be able to keep clear on the 17. McClure with the push. He's going to lead them back to the start-finish line. 3 laps to go here in Talladega as they're double wide back through the top 10, 3 wide back through the top 30.
Oh boy, Seth, get your binoculars out. This is going to be a good one.
Get the cameras out for sure as these guys are getting ready for another fantastic Talladega finish.
There it is, wreck on the backstretch, big wreck.
Ron Hagel and Kelly Causey haggling way up in the air there into the catch fence. We're racing back to the start-finish line to the caution. It's going to be Lawson on the bottom, McClure on the top. Here comes a 3rd lane. Is that Palmer, I believe, leading that 3rd lane around the top? No, that's Donnie Garrett, but he needs more numbers. Lawson edges ahead by about half a truck length out of turn 4.
Gonna try to be close. Here it comes.
Trying to side draft is Chuck McClure. Does he have the momentum? He does not. Half a truck length. David Lawson is going to lead them back to the caution flag, and at this point in time, unofficially, is going to win race number 6 of season 57 in his first start of the year. They're wrecking after picking up the pace truck. Oh, they're still wrecking. Wiley Cope, Bob Dixon, Knopfsker, and Brian Schilling.
That's just a product of being very, very close, trying to slow down.
Yeah, all trying to whoa up there as they caught the pace truck on the back straightaway. Bear in mind, too, that on most of the cautions that they had the yellow flag come out at the portion of the race, it was frozen field, not raced back, so they had time to be able to back it down. They were full throttle coming back to the start-finish line here, obviously, with positions on the line as far as the finishing results.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dave Lawson and Chuck McClure, who were in that photo finish, which I'm seeing is 25 one-thousandths of a second that decided this one here tonight, Michael. They're waiting for that pace truck to pick them up before they get back here to the start-finish line to avoid the post-race black flag penalty. Metallic crossed in third, Middleton in fourth, and Grant Wesley, like he was in the top 5. They will see the white flag this time by David Lawson. Either 1 or 2 starts that he made last season, and one has to wonder now. We saw Grant Wesley miss out on, I think it was the first 2 races of last season. I believe that he had a DNF in the 3rd race, so it was really looking like a deep hole for him to have to dig himself out of. He eventually found victory lane, spent the second half of the regular season making his way up into the top 10 in the point stand, so he didn't even have to win his way into the playoffs. And then eventually, the rest of the story, he goes on to win the championship. For David Lawson, he decides to run the final 4 races of the season. Could he accumulate enough points to at least make it up inside of the top 20 for this win to count towards one of those elusive spots in the Tally Challenge playoffs?
Low 75 miles per hour, give or take. Last lap, down the back straightaway.
Like John Godfrey will not reach the conclusion of this race, nor will Chris Emery. Emery on pit road, Godfrey already back to the garage area. Some other drivers that appear to have been involved in the wreck, and we'll obviously, as mentioned, look back at it a little bit more in depth once David Lawson is able to take the checkers here in about a half a lap. It looks like Jessica Shelton, Bob Seminara, Milt Surratt were involved, Jason Scheck, JT Mayhew. We obviously know Ron Hagelin was involved as he got airborne there, almost up into the catch fence on the back straightaway. A couple other drivers questionable on whether they were involved or not. They were back around the vicinity, at least Dante Ricky, Glenn Harris, maybe even Dave Melson. Of course, we will get the confirmed count of who was involved in just a few moments. But David Lawson, he led 8 laps total here tonight, including the lap he's about to lead, the all-important final lap of this race coming around to the checkers. That is only 3rd on the list of the lap leaders here tonight. McClure led 22 and Donnie Garrett led 21. McClure will have to settle for the runner-up, and Garrett will have to settle for the 8th position. How about David Lawson? Not his debut overall here in the Tally Challenge, but his debut here this season. And his first start, he's going to be a perfect 1-for-1 in checkered flags picked up as he'll cross the start-finish line, and it is David Lawson winning here tonight. Kick off the second half of the regular season of season 57.
All over, look at all the congratulations. And there goes Grant Wesley spinning back up the track. Good win.
David Lawson already going to climb out of the truck and begin the celebration. So we're going to go back real quickly and take a look at the wreck that ended this race under the yellow flag. The Grant Wesley's doing the burnouts for David Lawson over there in turn 2.
Yep, so it seems.
Bob Seminara was definitely involved. I saw him as he crossed the start-finish line, had some damage to the left rear quarter panel, also a little bit of damage there to the left side door. Caution came out at 3 to go. See where it started. The 111 of Ron Hagelin was the one that we definitely saw got a lot of air. Back around the 18th position, I do believe. Where the initial contact is, Hagelin pushes up into Seminara, who gets into Causey, comes down into the 111, and he lands right on top of the hood of Jessica Shelton. There is Scheck, there is JT Mayhew. Cy Jones, Sunoco Chevrolet up and over there, down towards the inside wall. Dante Ricky, I do believe, did get a piece of it. Not exactly certain where in that incident. Looked like he had some left side damage. We'll see if we can find the Mug Root Beer Toyota Tundra here through this wreck. Also take a look at the Cy Jones flip. Oh, there you see up ahead, Dante Ricky right there gets hit in the passenger side by Bob Seminara, hits the inside wall, and then right here, like a grip flip there for the 7 car, the 7 truck, as he was on the brakes and just the weight distribution going awry and sending him over for a tumble. About 8, 9, 10 trucks collected up in this one. A few of them were off the lead lap, including Kelly causing that 00 Cy Jones in the 7. I'm also seeing that Chris Emery, who I believe got through the wreck, he lost connection in the closing stages. That's why he didn't reach the conclusion. Tough break there. Oh boy. We're going to come back to live because I think we're playing a game of chicken here between Brian Schilling and Grant Wesley. Oh, they missed. See if they try it again. We'll get you your full fissure results in just a minute, but a little post-race shenanigans going on right now between Schilling and Wesley. Wesley, who finished 5th, Schilling, who finished in 7th. Schilling right now entering into turn 4. Wesley is down the back straightaway. They should meet somewhere here just off of turn 3. Oh! There we go. Schilling up and over, and I don't think that thing's coming back on its wheels. Right. So anyway, back to the finishing results. Here's a look at them. David Lawson with the win. McClure in second. We gave you the top 5 with Metallic, Middleton, and Wesley. Tim Knopfsker is going to bring it home in 6th. Brian Schilling 7th. Donnie Garrett 8th. Wiley Coate, good run there after starting the outside of the front row. He'll get 9th. And Joe DeSpirito, after losing a couple of spots last week, going to bring it home in the 10th position. Rodney Sullins was 11th. Greg Palmer in 12th. Bernie Mobbs 13th. Good showing tonight by Wayne Pribnow. Stayed on the lead lap all evening long. Was up inside the top 5 at one point in this race. He's going to bring it home 14th. Bob Dixon in the 15th position. Mark Paglia, Richard Martin, Jeff Crivello, Billy Elliser, and Dave Melson are the completion of your top 20. 21st for Glenn Harris. 22nd, Dante Ricky. Pretty much on down through from Ricky to the last driver on the lead lap, or the drivers that got swept up in that race-ending caution. Shelton in 23rd. Seminara 24th. Bill Surratt, Ron Hagelin, Jason Scheck, and JT Mayhew all the way back through 28th. Those drivers finished on the lead lap. Kelly Causey, first car, 1 lap down in 29th. Godfrey Emery in 30th and 31st. Cy Jones in 32nd. And then drivers that did not reach the conclusion, most of these drivers are back in the garage area by the end of the first half of the race. Nathan Balser, David Cannon, Terry Bombard with the engine problem, Doug Kulik, and Jeremy Jeffries. The big hit going to go to that 8 truck here tonight after coming to this race. Second in the point standings, a former winner from this season. But it's time to now go down trackside and talk with a few of our podium finishers. And let's see if we can kick things off with the driver that brings it home, P3. Let's see if we can dial up Josh Metallic. Hey, Josh, Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I do.
Well, I'll tell you what, we saw a heck of a battle there. Unfortunately, it wasn't coming back to the official checkered flag, but the proverbial checkered flag there with the caution waving. And we saw you guys stacked up side by side, about 3, 4, 5, 6 rows deep before we got to that 3 wide. And it almost looked like the lanes were even. So, I mean, how difficult was it to be able to get the momentum for your respective lines to be able to edge out whoever you were side by side with?
Oh, it was so tough. We were running middle, and I saw an outside line form. Then I saw a low lane form, and I moved low, and we kind of, held that off. And then a couple guys started coming forward in the middle, and it looked like they had us. And I don't know who was behind me. I know Grant was back there, and I don't know who was behind him, but I just was getting punted, and I was steering left and right. It was crazy. I don't know how we didn't wreck, but they were pushing. There was no safety going on. It was just total throttle the whole time, and it was a lot of fun. It was some aggressive driving for sure.
We saw it all race long, back to the front, to the front, to the back. But when it comes to including pit stops in your strategy here, just how difficult is it to position yourself to be able to get to the inside lane, get on the pit road, which is already a hassle in itself, which I do love, by the way, how you guys do those pit stops. But just how difficult is it to just place yourself in that main pack when pit stops cycle through?
I actually prefer to pit from the second lane. It's a good way to steal spots. I spent 20 laps in the high lane, making no progress, and then they all move low and line up, form a parade in the bottom right before pits. And that last lap, when you come in, it's wide open, and I can drive it in a lot deeper because there's no guys in front of you checking up. So under green, I try to not go to the low side. Try to, if it's possible, it's not always possible, but you have that middle and high side open. It's wide open. You can steal a lot of spots breaking late while they're all stacked up low. So there's a lot of games, a lot of strategy, even just for doing pit stops, which, that's how crazy the series is, how competitive it is.
Josh, we saw last season when we started to enter into the second half of the regular season, drivers obviously with the different agendas, some that had already locked themselves in, trying to continue to rack up those playoff points for when the points are reformatted, drivers that are inside the top 10 trying to secure themselves those playoff spots, and obviously the drivers that are on the outside looking in, trying those last ditch efforts to get playoff positions. And we started to see up here in the booth, we started to see that sense of aggression, that sense of urgency. Kind of got that feeling here tonight. And you said yourself, even as a driver down there, you could feel that aggression. So it kind of seems like we're preparing ourselves for another 4 weeks of that heading down to the regular season finale. How, as a driver, do you prepare yourself for that type of action as you're also trying to get yourself secured into the playoffs?
Yeah, there's the level of competition's nuts. So you got guys that any other night of the week, any other series that does super speedways would be, in the top five, and they're in 15th, 20th place. So they've got to be more aggressive. They're desperate. There's 4 races left, and even if you can get into the side of the top 10, those bonus points per position mean a lot. I've been knocked out, I don't know how many times, by a point or two. So if you can get those extra bonus points from the finishing position points wise, it's a big deal. But yeah, every position counts, and with 30 some cars, a mistake just kills you. It can take you a couple of races to get it back. So it's just a lot of competitiveness. It's a lot of fun. Nights like this are awesome. We get, some nights you bang your head against the wall, but stuff like this, it's a blast.
Well, Josh, obviously a great run for you here tonight. Good momentum heading down this home stretch of the regular season. You came into tonight sixth in the point standings. I believe the points have gotten re-updated, so now you're up to third in the point standings. What is the goal here going down these final 4 races? Are you looking to find victory lane, get that automatic secure spot, or are you looking for the consistency to make your way into the playoffs? Or basically, are you just kind of playing it off whatever the scenario is at the end of each one of these races?
Yeah, you always go in looking for a clean run and the best possible finish. And third place sounds great, but you get wrecked and lose a motor and lose 30 points. Who knows where you're at? So the point swings are pretty wild. If you have a bad race here or there. So I'm still going out trying to win. It's always the goal, but just get the best possible position and try not to do anything silly or get caught up in anything silly at the end. And it's kind of easy to say that. It's totally not in your hands happening, but that's the goal at least.
Talk about those point swings. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch what happens with those, the big fields we've had week after week here down the home stretch. But Josh, congratulations. Job well done here tonight. Survived the mayhem, bring it home on a podium finish. And before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, first off, congrats to David Lawson. He used to be a regular, even a Thursday night admin. So he's no stranger to victory or running well. He's a former champion too. So he's been away for a little while, but he's back, and he's picking up right where he left off. So good job to him, and thanks to Tim and Wiley for helping with this every week, keeping it going the way it goes. And Sean Prime, Dave Cannon, the drivers. Races like tonight are why we do it. All this admin stuff, and you guys as well. I'm really going to enjoy watching this broadcast, not just because I had a good race, but it was a lot of awesome racing. So I'm looking forward to it.
A good one up here in the booth. Can only imagine what it was like down there in the cockpit of one of these trucks. Congratulations, Josh Metallic, your third place finish here tonight. Gonna look forward to seeing what you have in store here for us in your quest to get back into the playoffs. Maybe try and get another championship, second in 3 seasons with 4 races left here, heading towards the playoffs.
Sounds great. I appreciate it.
Josh Metallic bringing it home on the podium here tonight in P3. Let's see if we can now dial up the driver that brings it home in the runner-up position. So close to making it back-to-back here in season 57. Let's dial up Chuck McClure. Chuck, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
How you doing, guys?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, riding a lot of momentum last week. You found victory lane once again. You jumped to the top of the point stands, and here tonight, come up maybe about half a truck length short of being able to get that checkered flag. If the caution doesn't come out, do you have something for that 18 with those final 3 laps?
I thought I did, yes. I had the right line, and I had some good pushers. He had some really good pushers too, but I know that outside line was coming as well. So who knows? Congratulations to David. Darn it, he beat me again.
All right, it seemed like those last set of pit stops there, all heck kind of broke loose there coming in. Just how difficult is it, especially with or I should say the pressure? How much more pressure is it when it comes to crunch time for green flag pit stops?
You got to be on it for sure. I kind of did I had a mistake there. I had guys pitting, and I wasn't sure where they were going to end up, and I slowed on the racing surface and got ran over. Rightfully so. There's nothing the guy could have done about it. So served my penalty and started from 20th on that last run, and I would have been happy with a top 10, but there I was beside the the winner, just come up a little short.
Now, we talked about the fact that last week you jumped to the top of the point standings. We know that at the end of the regular season, the driver that wins the regular season championship gets a extra bonus as far as points when the playoff standings are reformatted. Here tonight, kind of built that cushion a bit with Jeremy Jeffrey's early departure. It's now 28 points back to the new second place driver Grant Wesley. So, with 4 races left, are we looking for victory lane a couple more times, or are we trying to just get those max points to be able to get the regular season championship?
Well, I want to start out with trying to get max points, but man, you wave a trophy out in front of me. I want it, and I want to build the more points the better going into the regular to the playoffs, and you know get all you can, and maybe breathe a little easier in round one anyway.
Well, Chuck, a great run for you here tonight to follow up that victory last week. A nice finish to the first half of the regular season and a nice start to the second half of the regular season, the home stretch towards the playoffs. Congratulations. And before we let you go, we'll give the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Well, first off, I want to thank you guys, FRN. You guys do a heck of a job, and it's really entertaining to watch it whenever I can, probably later tonight. And last week, I forgot to give a shout out to my friends and family and everybody at Marshall County Schools watching me. I think there's quite a few of them that tune in and see how their bus driver actually drives when he can drive something that goes more than 55. Of course, all the admins here, Josh, David Cannon, Brian Schilling, Tim Nosker, all these guys, they give us a great place to race.
Chuck McClure bringing it home P2 here tonight. Will continue to lead the points heading into next week. Has a little bit of a cushion, as said, as well, with the good run here this evening. We'll look to see if he can continue to grow it as we've got 4 races left here in the regular season. Until next week, Chuck, best of luck next week. Good run here tonight.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And let's go down to victory lane and see if we can talk with tonight's race winner. So far this season, we're a perfect 6 for 6 in different drivers taking checkered flags in season 57. The latest of them is David Lawson. David, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. I sure do.
Well, David, my memory is not exactly the best, as people who tune in these broadcasts will know. I was saying tonight that it was your season debut. Failed to remember that you had that start, that sixth place finish back in early September. But now, with the victory in hand, you're currently sitting 34th in the point stands, and we know that it's possible for a driver to be able to, with a few starts missed, to be able to point their way up inside of the top 20 in the points, have that win count towards a playoff spot. We spoke moments ago with Josh Metallic. He says you're back. So do we see this 18 getting that playoff spot in the next couple of weeks with some consistent runs and getting up in the top 20 in points?
Well, I definitely have my work cut out for me over the next couple of weeks till the end of the regular season before the playoffs start. So, if I can string together a couple more top 10 runs, I think I can do it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens and what transpires with everybody here.
Man, that was a heck of a run, and being your first start in the season today. How does that feel, knowing that in your first start of the season you get the big W?
You know what? It was really nice because I was nervous when I came back, and I was like, it's just like riding a bike. You get in there, you get with a group of people that you know how they run every week, and nothing's changed. It's still the same guys. They still race the same way. So once I got into a groove, I felt like I could accomplish it. That last pit stop fell at the right time. I took one can of gas and came out behind Tim, and he went low, I went high, and that was all she wrote. I had Josh pushing me to the end, and couldn't have asked for a better person behind me.
So you say you got your work cut out for you, and obviously there's a lot of varying strategy that goes on with super speedway racing. And as we're going to be seeing here down this home stretch, 4 races left in the regular season, different drivers are going to have different agendas. A couple of the drivers we just talked with said, they could really feel the aggression picking up here tonight, and it's probably going to get worse and worse as we get closer to drivers being around that cut line to make it into the playoffs. You've got your own agenda to get into the top 20 in the point standings, so do you have a strategy here for these upcoming 4 races to keep your truck in one piece, get the max points you possibly can to get above that 20th in the standings cut line? Or do you have to take these races one at a time and kind of survey what the scenario is of the drivers around you at the time?
Oh, you definitely got to see where you're at, on the track each week. If you're in the middle of the pack, you've got to make the moves, play your strategy with the pit stops to try to inch your way forward and hope that a caution falls your way at the right time. Otherwise, you're just kind of screwed because these fields are stacked. I've said before, this is like an all-star race every week. You got guys coming in here from other leagues, and it's literally the best of the best here. So you've got to position yourself with the pit stops, and hope you get a good draw with the qualifying lotto that we have, and just take it from there. I mean, sometimes you have to take an out of the box chance to put yourself up front. Sometimes it's going to pay off, and sometimes it's going to bite you in the backside.
Well, David, obviously, with 4 races left, based off my calculations here, you're only 50 points out of that 20th in the standings cut line. We've had big fields here during the course of the season. We see a lot of point swings take place, so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility mathematically for you to be able to make your way up there into a playoff position. But congratulations on a job well done here tonight. A great run in your second start of the season. You move our streak now to 6 different drivers here during the regular season finding victory lane. And I know you want to get back to the celebrating, but before we let you go, we're going to hand the mic over to you for some victory lane thank you, sponsors, and shout outs.
I definitely got to thank Josh for pushing me to that win tonight. I don't know who was behind him, but they were beating his bumper off too as well. So I want to thank them, and I got to thank Chuck McClure for racing me clean. Chuck's been a friend of mine for years. I've met his son. His son's really a nice kid too. Chuck and I race good together, and I got to thank him for a clean run. Got to thank the guys at the league too, because without them putting us on, I wouldn't be doing this right now. I just got to thank everybody. I mean, it's everybody that puts on the show there, and you guys for coming in to do the broadcast every week. And I just want to appreciate everybody, man. This is just a true blast from the past, so to speak.
David Lawson gets to celebrate here tonight as he parks his number 18 Chevy Silverado in victory lane. First win in a long time for Lawson here in the Tally Challenge Series. Congratulations, David. Go and enjoy this victory, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch your journey up there to try and get in the top 20 in points in these final few races.
Thanks. That's guys, stick around. It's gonna be a hell of a ride, man.
Absolutely. So as David Lawson continues his celebration here tonight. That is going to conclude our coverage here this evening. Michael, I kind of feel like it's same song, second verse of what we saw last season. We're trending towards 10 different winners during the regular season like we had a season ago, and we might be setting up for Grant Wesley's story part 2 in the case of David Lawson, except at this point in time, it's more the win has come about, and now the battle get into the top 20, except for, and not the vice versa that Wesley had to deal with last time out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch these next few weeks. So I'm happy to be here with you, Seth, and I can't wait to watch it with you.
Yeah, and of course, as stated, it's just going to get better as we get closer towards the end of the regular season. A lot of different drivers with a lot of different goals, and a lot of times it culminates into some thrilling finishes and some thrilling for us, but maybe not so thrilling for the driver Rex here, which is always a byproduct of super speedway racing. We appreciate everybody joining us here tonight. Next week, race 7 will be coming to you live Thursday night. Green flag scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So far, 6 races, 6 different drivers have gone to victory lane. Balser, DeSpirito, Wesley, Jeffries, McClure, and Lawson all making cases for themselves to be in the playoffs. Will another join the ranks? You have to tune in next week to find out. But for Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing